The year is 1873. The sun is dropping behind the Rocky Mountains, and a freight train sits motionless on the tracks. Inside the railcar are crates of silver ore, stamped, weighed, and ready for sale. On paper, this shipment is already worth millions. In reality, it might never reach a buyer. A man on horseback rides alongside the train. He isn't a miner. He isn't a lawman. He isn't even transporting the silver. He is the money. He decides whether this train moves tomorrow or rusts in place, whether the mine behind it survives another winter, whether the town that grew around it exists next year. He carries no gold, no cash, no ledger the government recognizes. What he carries is credit fragile, improvised, and backed by nothing more than reputation and risk tolerance. This is the financial engine of the American West, a place without banks, without regulation, without trust in distant institutions. And yet railroads are built, mines are financed, cities rise from dust. The central question is not how the West was conquered, it's how it was paid for. Because the system that financed the Wild West was reckless, opaque, and brutally efficient. And its logic never disappeared, it simply moved. The genesis and the promise. The American West does not begin as an economic frontier. It begins as a financial vacuum. After the Civil War, the United States expands faster than its institutions can follow. Land exists, resources exist, labor exists. But money, organized, regulated money, does not. Eastern banks view the West as uninsurable chaos. Distances are vast. Communication is slow. Legal enforcement is weak. Collateral is unstable. A mine can flood. A town can vanish. A railroad can stop halfway and die. Traditional banking depends on three things: records, enforcement, and predictability. The West offers none of them. So a different system emerges, not by design, by necessity. Enter the cowboy banker. These are not bankers in the modern sense. They are merchants, railroad agents, mine financiers, land speculators, and private lenders rolled into one. They operate out of saloons, general stores, and hotel lobbies. Their balance sheets live in memory. Their risk models are instinct. Their core innovation is simple. They convert uncertainty into movement. A miner doesn't need cash today. He needs food, tools, and payroll. A railroad doesn't need profit this year. It needs steel and labor now. A cattle baron doesn't need liquidity. He needs time. The cowboy banker provides that time. Instead of lending money backed by deposits, they extend credit backed by future extraction. Silver not yet mined. Cattle not yet sold. Land not yet settled. Rail lines not yet finished. Think of it like this. They are selling tomorrow to pay for today. This is the promise. Risk is not eliminated, it is absorbed. And in a land where risk is everywhere, the man willing to hold it becomes powerful. The mechanics, how the system actually works. Picture the system as a three-way handshake. First, the producer. A miner, rancher, or railroad company with assets trapped in the future. Second, the intermediary. The cowboy banker, who understands the terrain, the people, and the probability of survival better than anyone in New York or Boston. Third, distant capital. Eastern investors, European banks, and industrialists hungry for yield, but unwilling to step into chaos themselves. The cowboy banker stands in the middle. He advances supplies and credit locally. He promises delivery of commodities later, and he sells that promise eastward at a discount. This is not traditional lending. This is risk transformation. Uncertain frontier output is converted into something that looks stable enough to trade. Railroad bonds, mining shares, land-backed notes, paper claims on the future. The paradox is immediate. The West looks wild because it is unregulated, but it grows because it is financialized. Every mile of track laid is already mortgaged. Every mine shaft dug is already pledged. Every cow branded is already spoken for. The system runs hot because it has to. Slow money cannot survive the frontier. Why it spreads so fast. The model works at first. Returns are enormous. A successful mine repays 10 failures. A completed railroad prints wealth. A settled town stabilizes land values overnight. Eastern capital flows in. European money follows. What matters is not safety. What matters is scale. And the cowboy bankers understand something crucial. Distance protects ignorance. Investors do not see flooded mines. They do not see ghost towns. They see yield curves. As long as the promises are rolled forward, the system holds. This is the original American leverage machine. Risk is not removed. It is pushed outward away from those closest to the ground and toward those furthest from it. The West becomes a laboratory for modern finance. And no one is yet asking the dangerous question. What happens when tomorrow doesn't arrive? Propagation, leverage, and the hidden flaw. The system spreads because it rewards belief faster than it punishes error. By the 1880s, the cowboy banking model is no longer local improvisation. It is standardized, syndicated, and exported. Railroad bonds issued in San Francisco are traded in New York. Mining shares printed in Nevada are sold in London. Land deeds from Kansas circulate as collateral in Boston. The frontier is now abstracted. Most investors never see a mine. They never visit a rail terminus. They never meet the men whose labor underwrites their returns. They see paper. And paper behaves beautifully until it doesn't. This is where the system quietly mutates. From credit to leverage. Originally, cowboy bankers absorb risk personally. They advance goods. They extend trust. They suffer losses. But success changes incentives. Instead of holding risk, they begin redistributing it. A railroad bond is no longer held to maturity. It is resold, then rebundled, then pledged again as collateral. One future cash flow supports multiple claims. This is leverage, though no one calls it that yet. Think of it like stacking promises vertically. The same mile of railroad track supports a construction loan, a bond issuance, a land speculation deal, a municipal tax forecast. Each layer assumes the one beneath it will hold, and for a while, it does. As long as expansion continues, defaults are hidden by growth. New towns mask old failures. Fresh mines distract from exhausted ones. The West is not profitable in aggregate. It is convincing in sequence. The hidden assumption: every financial system rests on an assumption so basic it becomes invisible. Here, the assumption is simple. The frontier will always move forward. Land will always be settled. Resources will always be extracted. Transportation will always expand. But this is not economics. It is geography masquerading as destiny. The system does not price stagnation. It does not price exhaustion. It does not price coordination failure. Most critically, it does not price correlation. A bad mine is manageable. A bad railroad is survivable. But when silver prices fall everywhere at once, when rail traffic slows across regions, when land stops appreciating simultaneously, the entire stack trembles. The same leverage that amplified growth now synchronizes failure. This is the central paradox. The tool designed to spread risk actually aligns it. The catalyst. When reality interrupts paper, the trigger is not dramatic. It never is. In 1893, silver prices collapse after changes in federal purchasing policy. Railroad revenues fall. Speculative land sales stall. Credit tightens. Not because money disappears, but because belief does. Eastern investors stop rolling debt. European capital pulls back. Paper claims suddenly demand real cash. And there isn't enough. Railroads default in chains. Banks tied to railroad bonds fail. Towns built on speculative traffic empty almost overnight. This is the panic of 1893, one of the deepest depressions in American history. Unemployment surges. Hundreds of banks collapse. Entire regions freeze. The frontier does not save the system, it exposes it. Because the flaw was never cowboy recklessness. It was structural. The mechanism, drawn slowly, let's walk it step by step. Future output is borrowed against claims on that output are multiplied. Those claims circulate far from the source. Growth hides underperformance. A single macro shock hits all layers at once. Liquidity is demanded simultaneously. The physical economy cannot answer paper promises. Collapse follows not from fraud, but from arithmetic. The math was always correct. The assumption was not. Why this story never ends after the collapse? Regulations tighten. National banking standards improve. The frontier closes. But the logic survives. Replace railroads with mortgages, corporate debt, tech, growth, emerging markets, crypto tokens. The structure is the same. Transform uncertainty into tradable claims. Layer them. Distribute them far from origin. Assume tomorrow arrives on schedule. This is not a Wild West problem. It is a financial one. The failure, the modern blueprint, and the resolution to collapse does not end the experiment. It refines it. After the panic of 1893, the United States does not abandon leverage, abstraction, or future-backed finance. It systematizes them. Banking becomes centralized. Risk moves from individuals to institutions. Paper claims gain legal scaffolding. What disappears is not the mechanism, but the visibility of it. The cowboy banker does not die. He puts on a suit. From frontier credit to modern finance by the early 20th century, the same logic that financed railroads and mines is embedded into corporate finance. A factory borrows against future output. A company issues bonds backed by projected cash flows. A government finances expansion with debt it intends to roll forward. The frontier is no longer geographic. It is temporal. The modern financial system lives in the future. And just like the Wild West, it works as long as tomorrow behaves. The recurring pattern, every major financial crisis since follows the same architecture. The Great Depression begins with over-leveraged expansion. The savings and loan crisis rests on maturity mismatch. The 2008 financial crisis centers on mortgage-backed promises stacked into global instruments. Different assets, same structure. Take mortgages. A homeowner borrows against future income. That mortgage is bundled. The bundle is sliced. The slices are rated. The ratings are trusted. One house supports dozens of claims. When housing prices fall together, correlation returns. The system doesn't fail because people stop paying. It fails because too many institutions demand liquidity at the same time. The algorithm processes billions in milliseconds. The foreclosures take years. The central paradox revisited the tools designed to manage risk, make risk scalable. Abstraction improves efficiency. Distribution increases reach. Leverage accelerates growth. But all three reduce resilience. The more elegant the system becomes, the less it tolerates deviation. The cowboy bankers understood this instinctively. They demanded high margins because they expected chaos. Modern finance demands precision, then acts surprised when reality isn't precise. The modern thread, where this lives today, today's frontiers, are not railroads. They are private equity roll-ups, high-yield corporate debt, passive ETFs concentrating capital, crypto tokens backed by narrative sovereign debt rolled indefinitely. Each promises liquidity. Each assumes exit. Each relies on continued belief. Ask the same questions cowboy bankers once did. Who ultimately absorbs the risk? What happens if capital stops rolling? Are multiple claims tied to the same future cash flow? What event forces simultaneous liquidation? The danger is never innovation. The danger is scale without slack. The analytical checklist, when evaluating any financial innovation, apply this framework. What future is being sold? How many times is it promised? Who holds the risk when growth pauses? What assumption must remain true for the system to survive? What breaks if correlation spikes? If the answers are vague, the risk is real. The resolution, returning to the opening, so that man on horseback in 1873, he wasn't reckless. He understood something timeless. Finance does not eliminate uncertainty, It reallocates it. The tragedy begins when systems forget where it went. The Wild West was not chaotic because it lacked rules. It was fragile because it believed expansion was permanent. That belief still powers global markets today. Understanding this isn't about predicting the next crash. It's about seeing the structure, the beams, the load-bearing assumptions, the fault lines. Because the most dangerous financial systems are not the ones that look wild. They are the ones that look finished.